Good evening. Madhu here, back here on stage. Thanks a lot for your time today. How many of you had an amazing day today? Nice. And those guys can actually come closer. I mean, you guys are like really, really far away. I know that that's a display, but if you're on this side, you might actually be able to see a few things closer and nicer. So quickly, I don't want to keep you all waiting. I'm sure you all want to head home quickly. So what I'm going to do is in the next 20, 25 minutes, very quickly summarize what we heard today, what we saw today. And really we believe, right, that everything that's offered, everything that's made, the whole construct of what we see is about bringing everything together, right? And that's what we call everything is everything. And I just want to go to summarize the day for you. Help you understand how we think about it, how we work backwards from your input, how we work backwards from your feedback, so that we can actually make better products, better services that you can work on. That's the focus. And of course, at the end of it, we do have some lucky drawn prizes to give away. Some of you have won some lucky drawn prizes with our partners. Thanks to our sponsors out there who have done an amazing job of supporting us and bringing up some cool technologies that you can all use. I'm sure you spent some time with them. Those of you who won some awards, I'll be announcing them. I have it in my pocket here, very critical. And then I'll be doing 3 different questions. So watch the slides, because I'm going to be asking potentially questions from the sessions, from the slides I show, or from the talks that you must have heard today. Some quick questions, 3 different lucky draws coming out there. Remember, this is a lucky draw, it's not a skill test. All right? So the business environment is changing. You must have heard this today. There's a lot that's happening. A classic S&P 500 company, right, which used to spend about 60 years, about 1960, is like 20 years and sort of reducing very, very fast. Right? That means if you're really a big giant, you're not going to be around after some time, possibly, if you're not innovating fast enough. That's something that's happening, right? Huge projects, huge changes that's happening around us. Now, I take an example of GE, right? Imagination at work, and you're going to change, and this is Chip Blankenship, who talked about you're going to change every part of the customer sees. You won't have a lot of money. There will be a very small team. There will be a working product in 3 months, and you have a production product in 11 to 12 months. That is the kind of innovation. That is the kind of velocity that he was looking at that he needs to drive. This is GE aircraft engines, and they actually completely instrument the engines and the capability. They actually take this data, instrument it, understand how these engines perform, not just in their factories, not just in their development environments, but take that and they're actually on an aircraft flying. They are collecting data off the aircraft, understanding how this aircraft and the engine is behaving, and before the aircraft actually lands on the ground, they have enough information to tell them that this engine requires maintenance or not, and so that they can actually dispatch service engineers, reduce the amount of wait time, reduce the amount of loss an airline is going. That's how they're focusing on improving that. BMW, their Carasso product, this is about evolving and improving product efficiencies, right? What they do is they actually have sensors in the car that's giving them feedback on our AWS platform. They're modeling on that platform and understanding what is the driving mechanics for these specific markets. How should they improve their drivetrain? How should they improve their engine performance? How should they model it for the fuel and the construct of fuel available in specific markets and specific economies? And they are able to fine-tune the vehicle as they iterate through the vehicle and the services that they provide to you. That's Carasso for you. Philips Healthcare, fundamentally changing the nature of medicine and science, improving the lives of individuals, digitizing all aspects of their platform, and revolutioning the nature of how healthcare is done. These are examples that you see constantly. When we summarize that and look at, okay, this is digital innovation that's happening around us, what does it really mean? Digital innovation means reinvention of your core offerings, right? And processes, or invention of new ones through digital technologies. That's how we focus. Another way I like to typically summarize this is, if you take your business today, and if you're moving atoms in your business, right? Start thinking about how can you add value by just moving bits instead of moving atoms, right? If you have an ability to move bits, you can do something much more efficiently. I'm going to, right? And all of these businesses are there. I'm going to pick up an example here. I'm going to pick up an example of Netflix. How many of you know Netflix was actually a company that used to ship DVDs and video cassettes? About 20% of the hall. This is not part of the lucky draw, by the way. Right? So Netflix, right, I mean, they had a challenge. They said, there was Blockbuster in the US. You could go out to a video rental shop and you would actually rent out a cassette, come home, play it, and there was huge penalties if you returned it late. That's how Blockbuster used to operate, video rental shops used to operate in America. And Netflix entered that business. Yes, they did have a website through which you could place, pipeline your orders, etc. But the key aspect of that, the VHS cassettes were actually very, very hard to ship back and forth. They were heavy, they were crumbly, they can break on transportation and all that. With the advent of DVD technology, what Netflix was able to do was actually move this, and that was their business for a fairly long period of time. So you would actually go and select the DVDs that you want, have a preference list, and they would actually ship DVDs to you. And once you watched it, you ship it back to them, and that would go on. And one fine day, Reed Hastings came up with a decision and said, "We're not going to do that business. We're going to stop doing that business. We're going to stream it to people." Right? And this was fairly early on, right? They made that decision that they're going to do it. They lost some customers. There was some harsh feedback from Wall Street, this may not be the right thing to do, etc., etc. But in reality, what they did is they went from a business of moving atoms, which was DVDs, to a business of moving bits, which was streaming. Right? And literally, that's what they did. That they fundamentally transformed. And even today, you can go to their old website, dvd.com. You can go take a look at it. It'll actually point to the old product offering, the service offering that they have, which is still available if you want to go do that. But you're probably not going to do that. Right? So this is efficiencies. I'm sure you must have seen this video, depending on the session you attended today, about a zillion times. But this is Amazon's efficiencies. Right? You use IoT, you use sensor fusion, you optimize the warehouses in there with about greater than 50% efficiency inside a warehouse that you're able to achieve with these robots that actually can move the entire racks to pickers and so on and so forth. And this is another example of using recognition video in the city of Orlando, where we are able to track and identify who's the person, who's walking, what are the items on the road, and you're able to bring law enforcement into practice very efficiently, worked jointly between the citizens of the city and the police. Right? That makes it much more efficient. People understand what is it that they want to do. Technologies like that. Marinus Analytics, traffic jam application. They currently moved their entire workload to Amazon Recognition to be able to pick up and understand if these are the people who are lost, and how do I control human trafficking? Correct? Duolingo takes advantage of the stack, takes advantage of Amazon Poly, basically starts generating voices. If you're using a Duolingo to learn new phrases, to understand translations, to support your context of what you want to learn in a new language, Poly is powering those text-to-speech voices for Duolingo for you. Arteris, an FDA-approved imaging solution that enables you to take a visual viewpoint of looking at your arteries, looking at your veins, and separate things from the tissue. Remember, this is artificial intelligence, there's machine learning, there's separation of messages, there's imaging, etc. that's happening, but all of this is happening powered by technology to assist humans to become much more better, much more efficient, and these are things that we want to do. And now I want to skip this anyway. So the thing that when we see all of these examples, we all love these examples. We are like, wow, these are great. But the classic question that we come to is, how do I do this in my business? Correct? This is all great to hear. Arteris did this, GE did this, BMW did that, Amazon did this. Sounds great. How many of you want to do this in your business? Correct. Now, we have all the technologies that's required to make these things happen, and you want to do this fast, right? The real challenge behind all of this, if you go back and take a look, is that your IT system as seen by your user, your infrastructure, your technology as seen by users is your end user devices, productivity software, your ERP and software systems, etc. That's sort of what they see. But if you're an IT professional, you know all the stuff that's hiding behind. Your old hardware, your network switches, stuff in your data center, unpatched software, the stuff that you have to deal with upgrades, the complexity of dealing with that, the short-term and technical debt in your code that is sitting out there, the culture of IT that sits inside your organization as a cost center, right? The legacy skills that are sitting out there. When you bring all of this, you have a mountain, a whole construct of movement that you have to do in your organization to actually get to that, right? It's really an iceberg below the ocean. I mean, step back and think about it. If you have a data center today running out there, and you typically would refresh your hardware much more efficiently, how many of you actually refresh your core switch? And how frequently? Right? And remember, when you refresh your core switch, you actually have to refresh 2 core switches in your primary data center and 2 switches in your DR. You can't just replace one of them. It won't make any sense. I mean, if you replace one of them, you're cheating yourself. Correct? You're actually lying to yourself saying my DR actually works. It won't. Correct? So you have to do all of that, and those are the investments that get kept constantly gets postponed. What that does is that your innovation gets postponed. When those things get postponed, your innovation gets postponed. In essence, when somebody comes and says, I want to innovate, I want to try something, the classical responses you hear is, regression is a challenge. You know what, I got to test all this. This small change, I have to test it. This small thing that you want me to do, I have to validate across n number of different systems. So it's going to be slower for me to do this. I need 45 days to do this, 90 days to do this, 500 days to do this. All these estimates come out. Right? Capacity is a challenge. I don't have the infrastructure to run this. I don't know how do I scale on this. I don't know where do I put it. And compatibility is a challenge. This data format does not work with this. This solution does not work with that. This version of my database will not work with that version of my software. How many of us typically have given these beautiful answers? I have done it hundreds of times. Right? I did 20 years of that. Modern systems are very different, right? You want them to be fluid, you want them to be connected, you want them to be smart, and that's sort of what we want to come to. So let's look at this stack that you all saw today. That's the AWS stack. I mean, this is the big boxes. Just to give you the summary, these are just the big boxes. I'm going to give you what the small boxes look like. Right? Do you know where is EC2, the VM, the machine that you think you want to run, sits in this box? I don't know. I lost it. It's this one. If you're out there, you can do the equivalent of this. It's this particular box. That's virtual machines. There is a plethora of services, 125 plus services that you can take advantage of, that you can innovate with, that you can work with, that enables you to drive this. It's not just a machine. Cloud is not just a machine. Cloud is a lot of things. It's about acquiring and using technology and IT services that you have the ability over the wire, over the network. All that you do is make an API call and that service gets provisioned for you. Right? It's not just VMs. It's not about, I have a machine in my data center, I want another machine out there. It's something else. Right? Cloud is about rethinking your IT, rethinking technology, and provisioning it differently and making use of it very differently. Right? Let's go over this. What do we have behind the scenes? You must have heard of this, the Amazon Global Network. This is a 100 GBE network that's sitting out there, redundant private capacity across all of our infrastructure so that you can move data really, really rapidly fast. That's our global wire. This is our compute infrastructure. This is the VMs that you launch. On one end of the spectrum, you have Lightsail. On the other end of the spectrum, you have FPGA machines and everything in between. Whether you want graphic intensive, IO intensive, storage intensive, memory optimized, big data optimized, dense storage, all of that is available. And you want GPU to attach, you have elastic GPUs. You want EC2 Spot so that you can control and manage your cost. On dynamic infrastructure, you can. Very recently, just about a couple of days ago, for an FRTS compliance requirement, nearly 1.3 million vCPUs were launched to test and validate how do you run compliance nodes in the US for an FRTS compliance requirement. 1.3 million vCPUs as a test load at a cost basis of $30,000 an hour. In the year 2009 or 2008, that would have been the fastest supercomputer in the world. That's how big we were able to launch. Just as this is a test load when all other customers are still in production. That's the kind of infrastructure you can launch on this platform, right? Then, if you don't like those, on top of that, you can run containers. And many of you love containers. We love containers. And we have ECS. We've been having ECS for a very, very long time. It's fully integrated in our stack so that you can package your containers, deploy it on the cluster, and see how you want to drive that forward. Something more interesting. It is not just about ECS. We love all kinds of containers. We love Kubernetes. We like Swarm. We like CoreOS. You can take any of these containers orchestration models. You can pick up them, build these infrastructures. Many, many customers run that. For example, in the case of Kubernetes, right? When the CNCF did a survey, 63% of the users are already hosting Kubernetes on Amazon EC2. And this was up 44% from the year before. Right? Of course, you must have heard of other capabilities we have launched, though not immediately available in the India region, but we have EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. We have Fargate, which is serverless containers that we have launched as well. You must have heard of that. Beyond that, going into compute, you have functions as a service. As Werner Vogels really points out, he says, no server is easier to manage than no server. correct? If you don't want to manage the service, just don't do it. You don't have to. Functions as service enables that capability. You simply write the business logic, and it will handle itself. And Lambda has found its way from its launch across a plethora of capabilities. So everything, look at Lambda inside there. You have AWS IoT devices, IoT button, Greengrass, Snowball Edge, Lambda at Edge. Apart from the primary Lambda service, Lambda is now powering all of these capability in AWS. And look at the amount of event sources it supports right now. Right? Everything from CloudWatch. You can actually fire off zillions of events that actually generate in your infrastructure and monitor them, manage them, and drive solutions out of that. Compute is therefore instances, containers, and serverless. Let's look at database options. What do you have? On the cloud, database options are very wide. Relational databases, Amazon RDS. You have the ability to go with Aurora, a highly managed RDS. You can go with MySQL or Postgres. You can go with commercial, Oracle or SQL Server, or you can go with community, which is MariaDB, MySQL RDS, or Postgres RDS. You have all of these capabilities ready to go. But let's say you want to do non-relational. You have key value and document store coming out of DynamoDB, and you have Elastic Cache coming out of Redis and Memcached. Look at that network of capability that you have as data stores. And this, apart from using, by the way, Aurora has this interesting capability. Aurora was primarily a master node with multiple read replicas. And now we enable the fact that Aurora can do multi-master read-write across a region. Try doing that. If you've used other traditional proprietary vendors, multi-clustered availability solutions, you must understand this is not easy to do. But this is something that you will launch today by clicking a few buttons. You don't need high levels of sophistication to achieve this. You're going to configure that and say, I need multi-master read-write and scale across a shared distributed storage volume that goes up to 15 nodes across a massive storage volume that's out there, and you can scale on that. Once you get past databases and you have huge amounts of data coming from n number of different data sources, different silos of applications, your mobile applications, your IoT applications, you integrate them and you want to create data lakes. And you just heard some of them talked about S3 as a very powerful data lake platform on which you can build your analytics, do your schema on read solutions, and drive forward from there. Look at the innovation today. That means you don't have to define a schema before you put your data. Innovation improves. The problem is generally I sit in a room discussing for 6 days on which column should I add and how should I add it. Goes away. You send the data, we'll worry about it later. That's data lakes. You send the data, I'm going to put it in S3, I'm going to keep it there, I'm going to bring the cost of collecting data really, really low. At $27 a terabyte a month, I've brought it down really low. Store the data there. Once you've got your data there, I'm going to use schema on read. That means I'm going to define the schema of how this data is represented at read time. Right? And it's going to present itself. Your innovation velocity improves tremendously. And then our IoT stack. This is actually a very unbusy slide. Can't you figure this out? It's easy, right? There are like few things that we do. Right? This is the whole IoT stack that we offer at AWS for you to build IoT solutions. Everything from endpoints, using IoT SDK for really small devices, using MQTT, UPC UA, into sensor devices, into intelligent devices using Amazon Greengrass, or small sensors on Amazon FreeRTOS. FreeRTOS is an operating system that we launched on top of Amazon FreeRTOS, runs on top of, it's a modified version of FreeRTOS. It adds security to it as a capability, and we provide the necessary communication protocols, etc., so that it can talk to the rest of the IoT stack in our infrastructure. You have that. Going via Greengrass into the rest of the cloud infrastructure, you have IoT Core, over-the-air updates, scheduled ad hoc audits, data pipelines, and backward connectivity into your enterprise applications. Full stack. And on Greengrass, you can run ML inference, which means you can actually have, and those of you who saw the Deep Lens demo today or saw the video of the Deep Lens demo today, you would have seen the fact that you have the ability to train a model on the cloud, send it to a device locally, and have the inference done locally on an IoT device. And this is very powerful. That's what happens in most modern solutions, whether you want to build an automated vehicle or you want to build intelligent security devices, etc. Powered by deep machine learning platform. On top of it, we have application services, whether it's Lex, Poly, recognition video. And these are services that can simply add the capability for your software to see, for your software to talk, for your software to listen. Previously, software only understood data. Now it has these 3 additional sensory powers. It can see, talk, and listen. Simple services, one-line API calls. I mean, when I say one line, it's one line. One line to initialize the service, one line to make the call, right? And then you have platform services like SageMaker, which allows you to build your own model on your data and improve on top of it. And of course, if you have become really advanced, you can take our deep learning AMI, use your framework of your choice, build what you need on top of it, and build a very sophisticated solution that you have. That's the suite of services represented the other way, coming out of everything that we offer today. Now, at Amazon, when you think about all of this and all the change that's happening, right, one of the things that we see is we see the fact that builders and musicians operate more or less the same way. Think about it, problems the same way. What they do is both of them want to have the same construct, right? They want to be able to take their imagination, right, and build something out. They want to be able to do it. You have an idea, you want to try it, you want to experiment on it. Musicians have an idea, they have an inspiration, they want to try it, they want to experiment on it. They want to put them together. They don't want to be constrained. They don't want to be tied down to something. They don't want to be told no. They don't want to be told you can't do this. Then once they get ready to it, then when they want to create something, whether you want to make a song, whether you want to make a piece of software, it's more or less the same thing. What you're trying to do is you're trying to compose things together. You're trying to bring instruments that make the most sense, constructs that make the most sense, the notes that make the most sense. The same way you will assemble software, the modules, the pieces that make the most sense. You will assemble them like a glue, put them together, and generate inspiration. And then once as you build it, what the musician wants to do is to sing that song, play the song out to the individual, to his fans, understand what the fans' feedback is. Do you like it? Do you see how it is? Do you understand how it is? Can you give me feedback? Can I improve on it? They iterate. The same way software is. Software is iterated. You take it out, you build it, you put it out there, you want feedback, you want to collect it, and you want to build on top of it. We don't see them to be that very different. We actually believe builders want to be liberated out of this construct. And what we believe is if you take a stack like AWS with the kind of services, it gives you this whole suite of Lego blocks of constructs that you have that you can bring together and put them all together. That's everything that you have that you can bring together, and your logic, your idea is the glue that makes this possible. In essence, closing out, everything is in everything. And here I'm sort of quoting Lauryn Hill's fantastic piece here on After Winter Must Come Spring, which is a nice song. It's a fairly recent song if you've heard about it, right, of the change that's underway in computing and all of it that moves to the cloud, right? And as I have these conversations with the customer, what I see is you want to get out of technology that will constrain you. So the way to innovate faster is for you to get out of these constrained technologies, to go towards technologies that you can fire, you can power, and you can enable for you to drive forward, right? At this point, I would like to say, go build. Thank you. And I'm going to call out the winners after this. We got about 10 minutes. Let's see how to do this now. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to first thank the sponsors who have given us some, who have supported us through everything, supported us through all the solutions and constructs that they have. The first is not in any specific order. I'm just reading out in the order it was given to me. So Talend has, I'm sorry if I read your name out wrong, Ritayan Banerjee. We have Ritayan Banerjee in the hall? No? Okay, Ritayan Banerjee is not in the hall. Incidentally, he did win something. Or she did win something. I'm not sure. It doesn't say that. Yeah, Ritayan Banerjee, head of IT, SREI. Anybody from SREI here? No. Okay, I'll collect it later. I can change names. All right, the next one. Okay, so the way it's going to work is this. I'm going to announce the names and the partner that actually awarded this to you. Where is the award? Somewhere out there? Okay, the awards are somewhere near that console in the back. If you could make it there and pick it up, that will make it very, very easy. Mr. Dharmesh Sangli. Mr. Dharmesh Sangli is not here. This is an award by Dhruva Data Solutions for his, he actually took this thing and they actually picked out him as a winner. Dharmesh Sangli from Bajaj Corporation, actually. All right, none of you become Dharmesh Sangli, all right? The next one is an award by Blaze Clan. This is to Joanna from World Bank Group. Joanna, World Bank Group? No. All right. If Joanna is not in the hall. Joanna, you're definitely not in the hall? No, you're not in the hall. All right. Mr. Bablu Tarwale. There you are. Mr. Bablu Tarwale? Yes. Award by Blaze Clan for the Amazon Echo Dot. Thank you. That was good. Mr. Noel, I think it's Noel Cabral. Mr. Noel Cabral from Crayon Software. Anybody from Crayon Software? No. Mr. Pramod Gupta from 63 Moons. Pramod Gupta. Award by SIFI Technologies. Thank you. Mr. Pankaj Dodre. No. Mr. Pankaj Dodre won an award from Pentagon Systems and Services Limited. You got a Fire TV stick. He's not here. Okay. All right. Nishant Kallada, Crompton Infocare. Looks like all the winners went away. All right. Or they're probably launching machines right now. That'll be good. Rahul Khanzanchli. Yes. Which company are you from? Miss Pitney Bose. From Pitney Bose? Yes, thank you. You have won an award from Progressive Infotech. Please collect your award. Thank you. Mr. Shekar Ivani. Yes, thank you, from Broadbridge. Thank you. Award from Progressive Infotech for you. Mr. I think it is a Mr., maybe a Miss. Arya Roy. Yes, hi. You're from PwC? Yes, please, thank you, from Progressive Infotech. Collect your award. The next one, oh, I got quite a few, okay. Anish Pandey from Bajaj Finance. Collect your award, please, thank you. Neha Chinchore. No takers? Neha Chinchore from Siemens. Vaibhav Kumar. There's no Vaibhav Kumar on the hall. Okay. Amit Kumar Bhatta. Nope. Rahul Nandan. I actually met him today. Rahul Nandan, Western Union. No, he's not here. Mohini M. You have won an award from Sumo Logic, leader in machine and log data analytics. Thank you. Thank you for the partners. Thank you all. So the final, there are 3 awards, if I'm not mistaken, we are giving as part of the lucky draw. So this is something where I'm going to be asking questions. The awards are, can somebody help me with the awards? I think there's an Echo Dot. There they are. What are the 3 awards? Kindle, which is Kindle, which is Echo Dot? This one is? Oh, this is definitely the Echo Dot. Echo. This is the Echo. This is not Echo Dot. Echo Dot is different from Echo. So we have Echo here. This is probably the Kindle. And what is the other one? No, this is Fire Stick. Yeah. Great. We'll start with the Fire Stick first. All right. The first question, again, guys, is a lucky draw, so it's not like who goes first next. Randomly, it depends on the person I randomly pick, practically. So the first question is, you remember the slide I showed you with all the compute stuff from end to end? On the absolute, that end, to this end, wait, hold on, let me finish the question. Yeah, I knew too many hands went up when I said absolute that end. And you guys are all thinking, let's sell. I know. To this end, how many boxes were there? Okay, she got it. She said 15, correct. Please come. Your good name? Vinita, and you're from? Vinita from Ovam. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, let's try to make, as we upgrade to the Kindle, let's try and see if we can make a more upgraded question. What is the product that is available as part of Amazon's AI platform services? What is the name of the product? SageMaker, yes, please come on top. Yeah, not only do you have to raise the hand, somehow I happen to hear their voice first. But yeah, it is not Athena. Athena is our query service on top of S3. It enables the capability for you to query data and results without having to define this thing. SageMaker is a platform for AI services. Your name? Hani. Hani Narendran from Romax Solutions. Thank you. Do you use SageMaker? Do you use SageMaker? You should. You can do some good stuff with it. Like for example, Poly is actually very powerful, right? Many of you think it's not. It's actually very powerful. How many of you have kids? Good. Do you have kids have birthday parties? Do you have to call his friends and remind them that saying that, you know what, please come, the birthday party starts at 6 o'clock? Have you tried using Poly for that? It's actually pretty expensive. It's like 15 lines of code, right? Put all the phone numbers, connect it to any of the, like Twilio or one of these services. It will cost you about 2 rupees 50 paise per call. You can call like 50 friends. If you want the code, just ping me at my Twitter handle at Madhushekar23. Right? Just ping me there. The code, it's a bash script. You can write it in Python. You can write it whatever you want. It's like 40, 50 lines of code. It will generate the string that you give, run that, make the call for you, and close it. You don't have to manually call everybody. Very simple, right? It's not like something that we have to do some sophisticated stuff. Okay, the last one. This is the big one. This is the heavy one. The last award, the question here is on, this is actually a more complicated question. Can I use a deep lens camera in production in a store? The alternative answer is no, I know that. If you say yes and the other answer is no, then the other person who says no will automatically get the answer. The answer is not yes, it's a developer product. The deep lens cam is actually a developer product. It is not intended to be used in production somewhere in a store or in some place. It is meant as a developer product. The primary purpose is so that developers can learn to build ML inferences locally. So you go to SageMaker, build it, one-click deploy, so that you don't have to start thinking about how to build hardware. Right? That's the idea. But the idea is eventually partners will build such kind of products with ML inference capability that you can deploy to from SageMaker. The intention is not to give you a production-ready product. It's a developer product meant for developers to learn. Right? It will be available on the Amazon store for you to place orders on. Sorry, next question. Equivalently interesting question. Let's make it easy. What is the total number of services? You guys must have heard this like a dozen times today. All right, your good name?
Ramakant Sunone.
Ramakant. Thank you. Congrats. All right, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.